Franz Rosenzweig is one of the most original contemporary philosophers, and he contributed to a neo-Hegelian revival in Germany. After the traumatic experience of World War I, he elaborated an anti-totalitarian new thinking. His account of revelation as a call from the absolute other and his co-existentialist approach helped to shape the course of 20th century philosophy and theology. His reflections on finitude and the temporal contours of human experience made a deep impact on 20th century humanistic studies. His presentation of dialogue as an interpersonal relationship between I and you is held as constitutive of selfhood and community. In his own words, he points out that each person has two names, a family name and a proper name. We are the result of our inheritance and of our future. Rosenzweig's singular philosophical importance rests almost entirely on his having written what is arguably the greatest work of contemporary dialogical philosophy, The Star of Redemption. The Star is a system of philosophy that seeks to give a comprehensive and ramified account of all that is, and of the human being's place within that all. It is a system in which revelation plays a vital conceptual and methodological role, and in which Judaism and Christianity are claimed to offer glimpses of the redemptive unity of the all, which the philosopher seeks to know. The womb of the inexhaustible earth ceaselessly gives birth to what is new, and each one is subject to death. Each newly born waits with fear and trembling for the day of its passage into the dark. But philosophy refutes these earthly fears. Even from out of the fog with which philosophy envelops it, its harsh cry resounds unremittingly. Philosophy would have liked to swallow it into the night of the nothing, but it could not break off its poisonous sting. And the fear man feels, trembling before this sting, always cruelly belies the compassionate lie of philosophy. If philosophy did not want to stop its ears before the cry of frightened humanity, it would have had to take the following as its point of departure, and consciously as its point of departure. The nothing of death is a something. Each renewed nothing of death is a new something that frightens anew, and that cannot be passed over in silence, nor be silenced. Meta-ethic. Philosophy had thought it could take hold of man, including man as personality and ethics, but that was an impossible aspiration. Facing the view of the world, the view of life demands recognition. Ethics is and remains a part of the view of the world. The opposition between view of life and view of the world takes such a sharp turn into opposing the ethical part of the view of the world that it would seem preferable to call the questions of the view of life meta-ethical. Metalogic. The simple fact that the world, the thinkable world, is metalogical, already precisely in its thinkable character, certainly even follows from this emigration of logic outside of it on the one hand, and from the integration of logic in it on the other hand. Metaphysic. The meta-ethical concept of man is not exhausted by the fact that he has his own ethos in him. The metalogical concept of the world is not exhausted by the fact that it has his own logos in it. Likewise, the metaphysical of God is just as little exhausted by the fact that God has his own nature. Hegel. But Hegel's philosophy now promised to introduce something completely different. Neither the separation nor mere agreement was asserted, but an innermost connection. The knowable world becomes knowable by the same law of thinking which returns to the summit of the system as a supreme law of being. And this one law of thinking and being is first announced for universal history and revelation, so that philosophy is only to some degree the fulfillment of that which is promised in revelation. Kierkegaard. Kierkegaard, and not only he, contested the Hegelian integration of revelation into the all. The point in question is Soren Kierkegaard's own consciousness of personal sin and of personal redemption, which neither aspired to nor gave access to a dissolution into the cosmos. Schopenhauer. Schopenhauer was the first among the great thinkers to be concerned not with the essence but with the value of the world. Now, facing this knowable world, there rose another independent reality, the living human being. Before the all, there rose the one who mocked all totality and all universality. Nietzsche. The Dionysian and the Übermensch, the blonde beast, the eternal return, where have they gone? But he himself, who in the metamorphoses of his figures of thought himself metamorphosed, thus man, no, not man, but a man, an entirely specific man, became a power dominating philosophy. No, his philosophy.